I see participants coming on in.
Yeah.
Great. Great. Welcome, everyone. I'm just going to let the numbers go up just a little bit more and we'll get started. Okie dokie. Welcome, everybody. We hope you have your lunch today. We're learning at lunch. All right, I'm going to go ahead and get started to honor our time. Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to welcome you to today's Learn at Lunch webinar. My name is Adriana Sanchez-Aldana, and I'm the Executive Director of CCAE. Today's webinar is the last in our Learn at Lunch series, and we hope that you've benefited from your participation. We saved the best for last. Right, Debbie?
Sure, yeah, no pressure.
Okay, let me see. I'm just not being able to move my slides. Hold on just a second, everybody. There we go. So CCAE's intent with this brief webinar series has been to bring you topics of current relevance and demand that will help build meaningful connections as we all continue to work through this most interesting and challenging year and prepare for 2021. The webinars are complimentary to members and are sponsored by our partners in the field of adult education. I'd also like to offer a sincere thank you to Branca Marchetta, who's not here today because she's doing another webinar. She's member at large on the CCAE Executive Board, and she has worked very, very hard to ensure that CCAE makes these topics available to all of us. Also, many thanks to David Palmer, CCAE Office Manager, for ensuring that all of the details behind the scenes work together, in particular, the technology. The fact that the slides were not advancing was me, not David. Okay, so before we get started, I have a couple of logistical items to share with you. As in the past, all lines are muted. So if you have a question that you'd like to ask, please go to the chat icon and you can type it in to that area. And you can type in any question that you may have during the webinar. And we will be monitoring the chat so that we can help our presenter out with your questions so that she can address them at the conclusion of her presentation. Yes, this webinar is being recorded, and actually, as a matter of fact, we are also on Facebook Live. And we will also share this webinar on the CCAE website after the broadcast. One last logistical item, please be sure to answer the questionnaire that comes in our short poll at the end of the webinar. So for today's agenda, I've already provided a few CCAE announcements, and we'll continue with one or two more, and then we'll move on to our presentation. California Strong, Meeting 2020 Challenges for 2021 Success. So we've had throughout this series some announcements that we have had every single time, and one of them, of course, is advocacy. We never tire of advocating, and we should never tire of advocating. Advocacy is such an important part of what we do. So, and we need to remember that our representatives need to hear about the great work that we're doing, especially during these difficult times. So please keep those communication lines open. I know you're waiting for some new talking points. They're coming around the corner very shortly, but keep the advocacy going anyway. Thank you. Another announcement that I have is for this Friday. I hope you've saved this Friday, December 4th at 5 o'clock in the evening for a virtual CCAE State Awards celebration to honor our 2020 awardees who were not officially recognized this year due to the cancellation of our state conference. They still deserve recognition and our thanks as well. So registration is still open on the CCAE website, and we hope you, and if you're an awardee, your friends and family members will join us. Free registration It just helps us. We ask you to register as it helps us keep track of how many people are coming into the webinar. And it's a celebration, and I am going to have a celebratory drink with me, so feel free to do that as well. You're at home, right? You don't have to drive anyplace. One last announcement that I have, CCAE members have a great opportunity to provide input into educational research. Specifically, one of our very own members, Crystal Corbus of Bay Section, is working on her doctoral study entitled A Critical Review of Adult Education Teacher Preparation and Professional Development, Measuring Racial Identity Development and Teacher Dispositions. So on the screen, you are seeing the CCAE link to a brief 15-minute survey for teachers and administrators that was developed in support of her study. Please help us to improve adult education in California by completing this short survey that Crystal has developed. The survey is anonymous, and Crystal thanks you in thanks you in advance for your support. So, membership. Our membership form is posted and on the website now, and so please become a member of CCAE with our new 365-day rolling membership. Important that you join, always important to support, and we appreciate your support as well. In addition, a new feature that makes Diamond membership more obtainable for all members is that it is now an add-on as opposed to a separate membership category. So if you're a part-time classified employee joining CCAE at $20 a year, you can add on the Diamond membership for an additional $150 for a total of $170, as opposed to the $250 that Diamond membership cost last year. So that's a savings of $80 for the Diamond membership benefits. Among other benefits, Diamond member profiles are featured on the CCAE website. So let's get started on today's content. Today's presenter is a familiar one to many of us in adult education. We're very fortunate to have Debi Faucette of the GED Testing Service presenting today. Among her many titles at GED, and I really do have to read all of these, I do have to read them all, okay? She is a Senior Director, California Project Manager, and the National Professional Development Chair. You might have attended one of the workshops or trainings that Debi has led at your school, at a CCAE section conference, the CCAE state conference, or on the GED Roadshow, as Debi affectionately calls it. She's a wonderful presenter who knows our students, as she has also worked directly with adult learners and was the State Director of Adult Education in the state of Louisiana. Debi, thanks for being here with us today to share the latest information from the GED Testing Service. And now I'm going to stop my share screen. I'm sorry.
Okay. You stop your share screen and I will kick mine in, and I think we're ready to go. And I'm also going to turn off the video. I wanted to keep it on long enough so you know I once looked like that picture there. This is today, and we will go from here. Let's see. There we are. I think I'm off now. All right. Good afternoon, folks, and it is great to be with you on December 1st. Am I okay, Adriana? My screen is up and we're ready?
Yes.
Good deal. Okay, and just in case you haven't seen enough pictures of me, we always have trouble getting these slides to advance to begin with. Here's another picture. So we have three possible choices for how you can identify me today. But I am Debi Faucette. So thrilled to be able to work with you all in California for most of the 10 years that I've been with GED Testing Service. I've had the fortunate opportunity to visit you on site. I see a lot of friends in the group, and I see a lot of new friends joining today. So thank you for letting me share with you some exciting information This was a presentation we had originally scheduled for October, and I gave it the same title in October, thinking we'd be heading into the third quarter finishing strong. And honestly, it was a blessing it got delayed, because even as of yesterday, within our own office, I was able to get additional information to share with you in December and data that I would not have had back in October. So we're going to do a little bit of speed rolling through some information that I think is critical for you, because I think it is important that we talk about finishing strong, because it's been just a boondoggle of a year that nobody could have imagined. You can't make this stuff up. You can't write it. But we have lived it, and we have adapted, overcome, and we are coming out stronger than ever before with it. So what we're going to do in the next, about 40 minutes or so, we are going to take about 1/3 of the time looking back, so that I can take the other 2/3 of the time moving forward. And I know that's a good thing to tell you right up front, so you won't tune out and think I'm just going to rehash what I know we've already done. That's not what today is about. But we are going to talk a little bit about, it has been a revolution in our educational system, not by choice, because of the pandemic. And I think we need to stop every now and then. We've worked so hard. We've all been frustrated, lost a lot of sleep, done things we never thought we'd have to do, nor chose to do. And by gosh, we found out we could be successful at it. We are going to discuss some of the innovative teaching methods and platforms that we have discovered or rediscovered, because they were always out there, many of them, to serve our adult learners. We're also going to spend a little time on the accomplishments that you and we at the testing service and all of our adult ed partners have created to allow our learners to continue testing. We must keep people in the pipeline, moving to post-secondary and to careers and onward, post-secondary and careers. We're also going to take a look at the GED tools and resources, some that were newly created and others that we continued to modify and enhance in response to the changes in our teaching and testing needs and methods. And more importantly, we're going to take a little time to celebrate the new year, because we have to know going into this new year that we are stronger and better prepared for the challenges ahead. That's an optimistic view as we head into December. And now I'm going to show you, as I was thinking last night about what's a graphic to sort of describe where we are. You know, the last time I met with you, I had a timeline for success, and I had a calendar of 2020. By the time we got down here to December, knowing what we know, look at the left-hand side. I think we're all ready to put a biohazard mark and cross off 2020. And let's celebrate the month of December, have some happy holidays and times with our families. But we know we've spent this year digging in and digging out. It's been so critical for us to have this metamorphosis of how we're dealing with our students and our educators and our educational systems. It's been critical for all of us. And yet, as I listen, especially across the nation, but especially as I stay very current with where you all are in California, and we're looking into the month of December, and it almost sounds like here we go again as we head into January, February, and March. But you'll see that I still am very hopeful that with all the word of vaccines coming and different things that may be available to us, I'm only thinking here we go again through maybe June of this year, because I truly hope that when we get into the new fiscal year, for all of the naysayers, I really want it to be back to the future. We're never going to go back to what our future is, never going to be what it was before the pandemic, but we have taken the best of what we've had to learn in this pandemic, and it would be nice to interject all of that with some of our more traditional face-to-face learning and get back to the future in the second half of next year. So we're going to hold a good thought and a good wish as we go through. As I move the screen, I am going to tell you that I have asked Adriana to read any questions, and I will try to remember to take a breath every so often because I'm not looking at your questions so that I can see the screen a little more clearly. Now, one of the things as we move, we know it's a brave new world. And I put this slide in here because for us, the biggest transformation, one of many transformations, was that we transitioned from test centers to online proctored testing. But that's one of the many innovations and accomplishments that you all have helped your students. We're going to spend a little more time on that because when we say it's a brave new world, the data that I've gleaned from mid-year to now tells me that that may be one of the most important features that we're going to have to promote, help our students with, and focus on as we move into the new year. I said we talk about the innovations for teaching the adult learner. I started to put in there something like the reframing of teaching models. We didn't have to reframe anything. We were already doing all three of these teaching models, but we were not heavily invested in the hybrid model of learning where they're sometimes in your classroom and sometimes online, or the virtual learning model. What this has done, and I don't need to rehash it because you've lived it, but you have learned how to navigate three different teaching models, and you've learned how to work more closely with your students. You didn't think you could get closer to your students than what you do in face-to-face teaching, but you now know you have a deeper understanding of the different needs of every student in that virtual environment because they all bring a different set of issues to that virtual learning environment and how you can review and mentor them. So you're implementing teaching models far more deeply than you ever had to before, and you've done it. And the way you've done it is by mastering the accompanying technologies that go with all of this. You are Googled and Moodled and every other kind of platform you can think of as ways to manage your classrooms. You're doing that in ways you never thought you'd do before. You now know how to use all these apps on your telephone like Remind and other platforms to stay engaged with your students, connected to your students in the way you only did when they showed up in your class every other day. So your student engagement platforms have really grown, and you have accessed resources and materials that have kind of always been out there on the web, but you had a classroom to go to, and you had people helping you with certain sources and things. And the need to do that research wasn't as great, but you've done that. I did not want to spend time going over all of the intricacies of this because we've addressed those in so many of our Tuesdays for Teachers webinars that are available to you. I didn't want to rehash old history, but we have to understand that, we were building the airplane while we were flying it. You were doing all these things and meeting the needs of your students. Do not let that go unnoticed as you feel like you've been overwhelmed, because yes, you were overwhelmed, and look what you've done. I can tell you that I started looking back over what we had done, and I realized that because we didn't have a summer conference, we wanted to make sure that we had things for you all to try to reach out and help in any way we could in the area of professional development. You know that we do Tuesdays for Teachers. Normally we do 6 Tuesdays for Teachers in 12 months, every other month. As the pandemic and where we were seeing our inability to reach and connect with you kept growing, we decided we'll just toss this out here. We'll offer some mini conference sessions, and we'll put them right on our Tuesdays for Teachers. And I went back And I took a look at what we had done from August, and we will have our last Tuesdays for Teachers. We've done 9 professional development sessions, some for corrections, some really honing in on what you need to know for that online proctored test, others talking about the new normal. We've done 9 sessions at a period of time when we normally do 3. And that's not a pat on our back. That means you told us you wanted this, we put it out there, and I've listed the taglines that you see from our website so that you are reminded that all of those webinars are posted and recorded with all supplemental materials. So anytime you need a refresher, they're there for you to use, and I hope you do so. And in closing on the professional development and what we think has been where we wanted to hope we've helped you as teachers is in professional development. When I say everything old is new again, yes, the Tuesdays for Teachers will continue. We also do any on-demand specific webinars and discussions. I have had just a heck of a fun time with local programs who say, you know, I've got these teachers, there's no place we can send them for PD. If you have a 1-hour staff meeting and you want me to jump on the phone for 30 minutes with them just to answer some questions they have, those are some of the most fun discussions and the best way to build a relationship with a local program so that they understand we're not just folks sitting behind a computer with the tag GED Testing Service on our desk. It's our job and it's really our pleasure to work with you and talk through issues you're having in the classroom, in the testing series. We also need to remind you that our classroom materials on the website are still very relevant. I'm going to spend some time putting a packet together. I have the pleasure of working with California and Arkansas, my neighbor to my north here in Louisiana. And I'll be working with a handful of their teachers. And the director called and said, you know, I got some wonderful teachers, but they're new to adult ed. I really need them just to kind of have a refresher. I'm going to take them through the information that I can find on the website. They want to know how to prepare their curriculum for the next year. I'm going to point them to the skills needed to pass right there in the center, because you know those are the performance level indicators. Because if they can pass levels 1 and 2 of those indicators, they're going to pass the test. So ways to make things more meaningful in your classroom are what we want to do with you because of the hard work you're doing in all the other areas. And that last column is just me saying, think small and call on me. In the examples that I just gave you, I'm happy to talk with you and your staff if it's just a Q&A, if you've got new people to adult ed, or if somebody really is having trouble with a content area strategy in any of the 4 content areas, or if they've gained access to some of our tools and don't know how to navigate them, let's spend some time on the website. All of these are very good uses of our time, and we hope we can make it valuable for you. Let's talk about some of the, I don't call it new tools. I know this slide used to say new tools. I call it refresh tools. We've had these tools, but COVID, pandemic, and the new way of doing things has forced us to take a second look at how we can modify and make them more relevant. You all are very familiar with Prep Connect. This is a slide that we use to talk nationally. I just have to tell you that I am so pleased at the response we're getting from local programs who are finally understanding that the CDE has opened up their definition of who can have access among educators to GED Manager to help reach out to students who look you up and say they want to hear from you, and then who join your program and share their scores so you can access their There's score reports to provide guidance. Prep Connect, I'm very busy working, and if you're somebody I've worked with recently and I haven't gotten back to you as quickly as you want, send me an email, because we're using this opportunity to expand Prep Connect in California to make sure we've updated our files and have current people listed. You will recognize this as an email blast that our friends at CCAE sent out for us earlier in the summer. And the green button on the right, complete the form, you see on the left all of the different titles that the CDE has approved. Anybody, actually Don Kilmer said, anybody who has a job where it is a need for them to understand the student data and the student information may have access. A certain 0 to 10 per adult ed program based on the enrollment that you serve. But if you've got teachers at your school who need this access, or a principal who wants to look at the data, these are all very important. Click that green button and fill out the form, and we will get you on your way. Another thing that you may want to do, because in this time where we are sitting in our offices, my colleague Iris and I are spending some time trying to make sure that we have been as current as possible in our GED.com website for finding a test center. Make sure your test center pops up when you put that area code in. Every now and then we find one that we need to dot, or for some reason our records indicated it may have been inactive. But for your students who are searching for you through, when they fill out our form, they're going to find your test center. This one was when I was working with Barstow. If they want to go to Barstow, it's going to pop up. They can say, that's the school I want to call me, and we will send to GED Manager, to the Manage Prep Connect enrollment bar, the name, email, and telephone of that student, who can then be recruited to join your program. We can find test centers and find prep centers, two different groups. Make sure, if you think you should be able to be found, that you can find them. That's your homework. Make sure you're on the GED.com locator for either one of those areas. And in doing so, I think you already know about GED Manager and GED Analytics, but GED Manager gives you the individual student data, and GED Analytics gives you the aggregate data. Anytime you want to know how your students are doing in a certain period of months or year, or an age demographic, or any other way you want to break it down, you can do that through GED Analytics Lite, which you will have access to through GED Manager. All the more reason to use these tools. And just so you know what I'm talking about, I think most of you have seen GED Manager. If you're a test administrator, you certainly have. And if you're now in Prep Connect, you have. So make sure managing students in GED Manager has a drop-down bar. And these are, you can't do this is mine, I do apologize. Some of these you won't be able to do, but you can do a student search, a historical search. You can manage authorizations. This is the code that your test administrator uses to do an underage test taker release, to release the flag. And when I talked about Prep Connect, here's the tab to manage the enrollment. If you're looking for GED Analytics Lite or a passer's report, all of these things are drop-down menus under the reporting element, okay? And I always put this nice colorful chart up because every bit of the information that we gather in demographics from students can be displayed in a very colorful way that makes it much easier for you to hand out and have read by some of your board members or your funders or your business people who want to know who are you serving and how are you serving them. All reasons you want to make sure you get be a part of Prep Connect if you're eligible. Because we have a mix today of both test administrators and educators, a little bit of information that I heard yesterday that I want to share that will help you do your jobs, which means it helps you serve your students better. We are aware that in the pandemic, we've all been challenged. I can tell you that it was reported to us yesterday that we are finally getting caught up on the response time in the calls and the chats and the emails. Voucher store delays, we have heard of this, but what I want to remind you all, because I've had several of these come across my desk and I'm happy to help you with them. If you have vouchers, I know they do get delayed, especially you haven't had students testing, so you may have some that are about to expire. It is always better to tell us, hey, I've got vouchers getting ready to expire in a month. Can I have them extended? That's a pretty quick fix because all they have to do, you will keep the same voucher numbers. They just put a later date for expiration. And folks, the expiration date is just there for our records. You're never going to lose your money on a voucher, okay? It's a little heavier lift and takes longer if they expire and then you ask to have them replaced, because we will have to, destroy those numbers and reissue new numbers. So either way, your money will be restored. I'm just telling you, it's an easier lift if you can get to us before they actually expire. So help your test administrators and educators know that. We will be doing a bit of a refresh to our GED Analytics and Analytics Lite. We're just telling you that because some of the colors will change, but it's really a behind the curtain thing for us at GED Testing Service to help you with the data and the reports that you want to pull. It's going to be better for you, but we will do some trainings after the first of the year so that you'll recognize any little color changes and so forth. And one of the things that I like, because it shows how we are always working to stay current and change as needed, we listen to our educators and our students, and we've made an edit in directions on the test timing on our website. On the part that says about the test, we had information about the test. We have added a new section that says time to take the test, because we put 150 minutes in there. We knew that 10, 13 minutes of the 150 minutes was taken up 3 minutes of instructions on the front end and 10 minutes in a break. And that little bit of indecision seemed to upset some folks. And they wanted to know exactly how much time they had. So as you can see, we have moved this over. And in each one of the tests, we're going to say, yes, we say 115 minutes. We're being so specific, we're going to say, but 2 minutes is instructions and 3 minutes is a break. So you have really 110 minutes. So I like that because it shows that we continue to look at the small things. What makes a difference for our students? Okay. All right, I'm going to have to escape there. Now we got it. So let's talk about the innovations in test delivery. I am so happy that some of you are actually able to do some on-site test delivery. I think it's going to be fewer and further between in the future before it gets better. But, because you have changed and adapted in the ways that I've listed, that you all know, according to the county health requirements and the distancing and the limited hours, some people who just had no choice but to get in to test on site are finding some sites. But we as a company and you as educators interested in your students have partnered, and we have created the online Proctored GED test. We thank the local educators who have shared this information with students. I am still appalled at the number of local educators who don't know we have an online proctored test. So you all, if you're in this meeting, you're in the know, make sure your friends and colleagues know about this. You may be surprised. You are critical in our connection to prepare students for the online test experience. I'm going to share with you what we have learned from you all and from your students as we have launched this test. This is what it looks like when you go to the online proctored test. We've done a couple of things with the website. When we started it, we were putting pieces and parts and information about it in all these different places. You're going to find it all in one place now, okay? All of the videos, all of the tutorials, all of the things can be found in one area, and that's really so important to our test takers. We're also going to take a second to celebrate nationally the successes, the OP pilot updates, and the statistics. As of the 20th, we've had about 8,000 learners get their credential and move forward. We've had more than 40,000 tests have been delivered. And this is what's so important and why we're going to spend time on the OP. Our testing was 15 to 18% was online proctored test in September and October. It's now about 25% of our overall testing. And ladies and gentlemen, I think it's just going to continue to grow in the next few months. And for that reason, I think it's important to spend some time and let's talk about the big duh. Online testing is different from in-person testing. Adriana, is this a time I should take a breath or not?
Yeah, you can take a breath. And I do want to share with you that you did get a couple of comments from, oops, wrong screen. You did get a couple of comments from folks. And let me pull that up right now. And from David Williams to you, hi Debbie from California ELF, Pittsburgh Adult. From Julie Vo, Assistant Director, Mountain View, Los Altos Adult School. She said, thank you for online proctored testing, exactly what you're talking about right now. Our GED completion rates are high for this time of year. So that's another factor that maybe needs to be pointed out. High for this time of year, meaning generally that their success rate is a little bit lower because we're just into the beginning of the school year, but they're having great success right now. So thank you, Julie, for that comment.
Oh, great. Thank you so much. And, you know, David, if I'd have known you were on this call, I have a photograph of David attending a December road show, fully decked out in Christmas galore. That was the talk of our conference. So David, I still have the photograph, young man. So we are going to hit some of the things we've learned to try to help you help your students in online testing. And Julie, thank you for your comments. It's you know, we always think we're trying to hit the mark, but it really helps to hear it from someone. So thank you. So we have looked at several things we need to make sure educators know. You know, of all the stuff, and I drew that arrow because some wiseacre pointed out that I said 5 things, but I had 6 blocks. So blocks 2 and 3 are together, but most of all, tell your students that the OP test option is there for them. If your teachers don't know, you can be sure your students don't know. There are 2 places they can get all of the information and help direct them. Either at GED.com under About the Test, which was that slide I started with, or we put lots of messaging into their personal GED.com accounts to direct them. So there's a couple of places they can get to it. Before the test day, students have to practice with the Whiteboard tool to get comfortable before they test. We're going to spend a lot of time about this. Just like you prepared them when they were going from paper to computer, and we had a couple of years to do it, we've got to do the same thing to prepare them on this test. And this is so critical. That's what we're going to spend some time about. You have to do more than teach your content. You have to be responsible to make them go over everything. That's a skill, a cognitive skill they need for the online test. So it's automatic when they get to the test, and then they just concentrate on the test. You want to complete the online system check before scheduling the test. This is for the student. They can go to the Pearson VUE website. They can see if they have the equipment, the facilities, everything is right, and make sure their equipment works properly before they ever schedule a test. There should be no surprise. Most important, the content on the OP test is the same that they'd see when testing in person. The difference, ladies and gentlemen, is that we're going to have to add to our teaching skills, teaching them the skills of the online test tools, just like we taught them the skills of the computer-based school test, and your students will be successful. We at GED Testing Service have done an online GED testing what to expect video, and we've gotten some high remarks and comments from this. We've got tutorials out there. Set aside time in your classroom to do the tutorial about what to expect. Go over the calculator tutorial. We didn't spend a lot of time on it because we knew on the CBT they had the handheld computer, but that's the calculator, handheld calculator, but that's not the case now. So we can't skip over teaching them how to use the calculator. And the Pearson VUE Whiteboard is very important. Practice, practice, and practice on these things. And I even threw this in because I've showed it to you many times, but I put in the place on the website where you could go straight to the calculator tutorial and look right to the left, the computer-based test tutorial. You all forget that just because we know how to use a highlighter, how we know how to use click, drag, drop, all of those things, our students may not be versed in it. Now you have to make sure they are. You've got to do the computer tutorial, the calculator tutorial, the whiteboard, which is this, and there's the website. I wanted you to have a big visual to be printed. And there's one more thing. You have a scratch pad. It's provided in addition to the whiteboard. It doesn't have a pen functionality like the whiteboard, but it can be opened and closed as a pop-up and to take notes in the reading passages. Use the tools. If we help them with the tools, they're going to be successful. Again, when was the last time you looked at the computer tutorial? Look at every one of those indicators in there that you can study and work on the computer. Make sure you use the tutorials. When you're looking at the student score pad, we also want you to know how to find any OP issues, online proctored issues in the score report, where you know that some of your students are having their scores on occasion revoked. It doesn't happen often, and it's most often tied to a cell phone being in the room or somebody coming in and with one reminder that if that person needs to leave immediately, if it doesn't happen, then that score can be revoked. But I wanted you to see an example of where that shows up in the score report results that you would have access to. If you're going to prepare your students for the OP test, you've got to start with the content. Back to content, keep it broad. Do not forget to go to your high impact indicators and make sure you're looking at the relationships between those indicators to get the best bang for the buck. We've done this over and over, but I always think it's a good reminder because you start slow, you simplify, and you slow down. You have to know what is essential as you're preparing them for OP. Look at the next to last because you know what transfers across multiple content areas. That next to last bullet says it all. What skills promote analyzing text, constructing arguments, building knowledge, each of which is needed in real life and in the workplace? Those are the things you want to focus on, and that transfers across all the areas. Once you've done that, to help them with OP, let's get a little tip in what we're seeing even in OP for the RLA and extended response. We said you have to use the whiteboard, but you also have the highlighter that you can use in just the regular GED functionality. Practice, practice, and practice. Help them use it, because I tell you, the first time you try to write on that whiteboard, it is an eye-opener, and it may not be the easiest thing to do. So I want to make sure that we understand. In fact, one of our OP Tuesdays for Teachers, we really broke down an exercise. One of our very old things that Susan and I always did, like, pros and cons, graphic organizers, both sides now, where it's almost like you draw a T with the pros and the cons. You can do that on a whiteboard. Have them do that on the whiteboard exercise at that website and practice, so that it's not the first time they've written on a whiteboard when they go to take the test. Preparing students for OP GED math test. Where do you think we're going here? Straight to the calculator tutorial. It all comes back to being very well versed in being able to locate the basic keys on the image and to know the functions in the numbered list. Go and use the tutorial. Make them walk through it. If you want them to be successful in OP, and they are being successful in OP, you have your own to-do list. It's all about the tutorials and repeating them if needed. It's knowing the basic tools of the test that have always been there on the GED, the highlighter, the font, the color change, the test size. It's viewing the calculator tutorial again and repeat it. So computer, basic tools, calculator, learning the calculator keys, and knowing where to find and use the tools, like the calculator, the symbol tool, the formula page, the calculator reference. Take them across the top of the pages so they know where to find the tools. Learn the whiteboard, use the cursor to write numbers and letters, and then repeat if needed. So it's adding to the skill set of the students that pairs them to success. I'm not going to spend a lot of time talking about GED Works to you, except to say, never forget, we still know that 50% of our folks never set foot through an adult ed door. So I want you to understand why we feel GED Works is important. It is something that is also available if you have students who work at some of these locations here that we've listed. But more importantly, we do this as something to serve that 50% that no matter how hard we try through Prep Connect and you try through recruitment efforts, they're not coming through your front doors. So GED Works is our laboratory model to find ways to help students be successful. And we are going great guns with our pathways work, and we have some incubation pilots in GED Works. And the reason they're important to us in our classroom is because if they start to work with this population, we're always looking for things that we can transfer into the adult ed classroom to benefit the learners who are fortunate enough to know that they should get into your classroom. But GED Works very often is serving students who are outside and unable to come into adult ed. I was very encouraged when our new vice president of products was talking about this, because when I worked in Louisiana, I was also over career and technical education. So I understood the tie-in with our careers and our post-secondary and our skills with our adult learners. And I can tell you, I'm so excited that everything they are doing is focused and learner-centric. We understand that we want them to get their credential. We also know that not everybody gets the GED credential, so what else can be helpful? We want those learners. We know that within 3 years, the majority of our GED graduates go on to some type of post-secondary learning or enter into the skills trades, industry-based certifications. But what do we want them to have? Well, the first thing we want to make sure on the left-hand side that we need them to understand their career aptitude, whether they know what they want to do. Maybe they have leanings towards certain skills they're not even aware of. We want them to have the GED credential, and we'd love if they're looking more at the skills of the trades, the industry certifications. So where we are going with our GED Works model is taking the employees at our companies who have partnered with us and helping them navigate the pathway that they want for their future. And we are partnering with a number of things, and I'm going to take you from the bottom, from the GED learner. We're going to look to the left. You all are aware of our Path Source Career Assessment. I haven't talked about it a lot recently, but it's on our website. It used to be one of the most prominent things a student would see, because so often when they hit your door, I want my GED, and then what? And the question is, I hadn't thought about that. Well, that Path Source document, 10 to 15 minute survey that shows them where some of their interests and aptitudes are, may start them on a path. But now with our GED learners, if they need motivation, and most of them cannot do this on their own, our GED advisors always try to move them into the adult ed programs. But if they're not able to attend adult ed, we're looking for other ways. And if they're not going to necessarily finish with a credential, we want to start them on a path to think about it. So we are doing some, look at the upper right-hand column. We've had a pilot with accelerated pathways, which is something that is a program in a sister company at Pearson, where they can have access to some 1 hour tutoring and help them head into some other pathway. But more importantly, I wanted you to understand that these are directions and forward-thinking programs that we are moving to grow. And someday we hope that as they grow, we learn how we can keep making advances for our GED learners that we can share with you for the classroom. I always put this slide in, you know what it's for. And I think I kind of want to close out here with a 30,000-foot view for all of us. I look at that airplane in the sky. I can't wait until I can get on one and come visit and see all of my friends and partners out in the different local programs. But from a 30,000-foot view, with everything we've been through, if you're a partner to GED, we thank you. We appreciate the work and the time that you put in to help us make our program better for your learners. And I am always thrilled when people join us who are not a partner and may not be giving our test at their center, but our PD is for everybody, and we want to welcome anybody to join in. But if you're not a partner, get to know GED again. Because if you've been away from us for a few years, I think now is an exciting time to see that the promise that we made 10 years ago is being kept. We continue to grow, to research, to innovate, and to move forward. We are constantly investing in our students and you as the educator. And just it makes me happy to end the year on such a crazy year, but I think the next year holds so much promise, and I hope that promise is that some of you who have maybe not been with us are ready to take another look and welcome us as a partner along with everything else you're doing. And for the partners who are with us, you tell us how we can help and bolster you. So with that, I'm going to ask Adriana to tell me if there are any questions. And while we talk about questions and she closes out, I do want to thank you for letting me join you for this hour. Please make sure you have my email address and my telephone number. I will tell you that we have a new president of our company, and he has offered that in this craziness of taking care of ourselves and our friends and our learners, we're going to take a sort of a quiet period, and only the essential workers will be working from December 24th to January 3rd. So any of you who have a need, everybody, all the essential services will be there, the testing, the scoring, everything. But for day-to-day or problems, if you have a need, you need to reach out to me directly during that period of time, because we won't necessarily be sitting at our desks every day. So, Adriana?
Well, Debbie, I think you answered all of the questions, because you don't have any questions in the chat. You just have a couple of comments. David said that he was blushing. He commented on his Santa suit, and that you did remember, but you know, he did bring that up. So, and also our David Palmer put into the chat, and I don't know if participants noticed, the GED Manager overview page includes the access request, as you said, and he put down the website for it. The address, and then if you're already registered, you know, what to go to. So he put that information in the chat for those who are interested in taking a look at it. And then we had one more question about, this is great information. Is this session recorded? And as I had said at the beginning, yes, it's being recorded, and I believe David said it'll be accessible later on this afternoon, as well as Facebook Live. And one thing that we didn't mention, and you'll confirm this, is that we are also going to have this information on the GED website as well. I believe you've said that.
That is correct. I'll get with our marketing team, and we'll get this posted. So, yes, and it will be, yeah, they'll be able to pick it up there too. So.
Okay, great. All right, so I'm seeing your screen, and I want to close out with a reminder to people that today is Giving Tuesday, and if anybody's so inclined to donate to the CCAE PAC, Political Action Committee, it's on the website under legislation, I believe. I had gone to it just a couple minutes ago, but I didn't write down the path, but you can donate to CCAE's legislative advocacy. That's something that that would be great.
Well, I am very happy to be with you all. I apologize. I kind of shut everything down. I think it's just our faces there, Adriana.
It's okay. We got it. We got it. And so that's good. And, let me see if I can advance. And if I can't, that's a great slide to end on. But I do want to close with reminding everybody that the webinar is recorded, and the link will be posted on the website. As I just said, we got that question. Thank you, Debbie, and to the participants as well. We look forward to continuing our work with you and your work with us in the upcoming months and year, of course. And many thanks to our annual partners, First Financial Credit Union, as well as Burlington English and GED Testing Service, for your continued support of CCAE and the field of adult education. Thank you, everyone, and have a great afternoon.
Happy holidays, folks. Be safe, be well. See you soon.
Same to all.